Alright, it is time for another character showcase in Dynasty Warriors Overlords, and this time I want to talk about a character that is very dear to me and is my main in the game, and that character is of course Zhang Liao, my all-time favorite Dynasty Warriors character. But that's not what this is about. I want to talk about what makes Zhang Liao special, essentially a top 3 character in PvP and possibly even PvE. He's just one of the absolute best characters in the game and does so much for your account. If you get Zhang Liao early in your account, he can absolutely carry you to the end game. But let's talk about what Zhang Liao does. Let's look at his passives first. So first we have increases Zhang Liao's Musou regen bonus in battle by 8%. This is especially important because it synergizes, of course, with his combat soul. I'll tell you which one later. Then we have, at the start of battle, Zhang Liao gains 450 more initial Musou points. This is his best passive, and it's one of the best passives in the game because to build Musou, I believe it only takes about 500 points. So he's starting the battle with 450 points. It might be more than 500, it could be 600. I don't know the exact stat, but the special thing about this is it only takes Zhang Liao one combo to fill his Musou at the start of the battle, which makes him extremely deadly in the first few seconds of battle, especially in PvP. His next passive is, after casting EX attacks, Zhang Liao enchants his weapon for 15 seconds, giving all his attacks an 18% chance to freeze enemies during the period. So you want to have this passive as well as his synergy to basically guarantee freezing your enemies, and his synergy is right here, where this stacks on top of the freeze offered by his EX attack. Attacks have a 14% chance to summon extremely cold ice to strike the enemy, dealing 240% of attack as extra damage and inflicting a 3-second freeze effect on them. Cooldown 4 seconds. So this synergy plus his EX attack basically gives him some of the absolute best crowd control in the game, with freezing on basically every attack. And we can get his EX to a point where the cooldown is only a few seconds long, but we'll talk about that later. Let's go over some of his skills. This attack right here in 5 can actually function as an infinite. I'll show you that a little bit later. We have this attack right here, C3. C3 allows Zhang Liao, and I think it's the only skill in the game, this skill allows Zhang Liao to position reset his enemy. So if he knocks his enemy in the air, he can position reset them with C3, and I'll show you that later. And then we have C6, which is Zhang Liao's best attack, and a multifaceted attack that opens up his offense for some really brilliant combos. And of course we have one of the best charge attacks in the game, his C1 dash charge attack, in which he throws his axes forward, which also can freeze the enemies, counter archers, functions as a zoning tool, just absolute, and very fast, and he can cancel out of it. Absolutely one of the best attacks in the game. And then his EX attack, Zhang Liao concentrates and enters killer mode, dealing 40% attack damage to the surrounding enemies. Meanwhile, Ice Field is activated for 8 seconds, during which time attack is increased by 20%. So what that means is the startup of the EX attack deals 40% attack damage. It does not mean that he is enjoying a 40% attack buff for 8 seconds, but he is getting an attack buff of 20% for 8 seconds. Now let's go over his combat souls. We have one right here where when Zhang Liao's attack hits slowed or frozen enemies, he recovers 12 extra Musou points. This again synergizes with his other passive of Musou regen bonus and starting the battle with 450 points. So Zhang Liao is able to build Musou incredibly fast, again, especially at the start of battle. Let's see what his Godly does with this one since I don't have it. Zhang Liao's attacks hit slow to frozen enemies. He recovers at max 24 extra Musou points. So there comes a point in the game where you're so good at something, adding to it doesn't actually make you any better at it. Zhang Liao has already one of the best Musou batteries in the game, meaning that he can fill his Musou bar very quickly. He already has one of the best, so adding more to that isn't necessarily going to be very noticeable until your second rotation where you've wasted your Musou bar and you start the next one. Then this becomes a bit more noticeable. Let's look right here. This is his best combat soul and one of the absolutely most broken ones in the game, where Zhang Liao's Musou attack attacks 3 more times. This is towards the end of the attack, and each attack of the Musou deals 226% attack as damage. This gives Zhang Liao one of the strongest nukes in the game in terms of Musou, and because his entire kit basically revolves around building Musou and then activating it, and all of his combos basically lead into Musou, this is a one-shot kill for most of the cast in the game. And it only gets better once you get his skin, which I'll talk about in a moment. His next combat soul is when slow to frozen enemies are nearby, Zhang Liao gains an 8% attack per second bonus, stacking up to 5 times, which is a 40% attack bonus. This again synergizes with his EX attack, where he gets a 20% attack bonus, giving him a grand total of just right here a 60% attack bonus when he's attacking frozen enemies. So lots of synergy within his kit makes him very easy to understand and very easy to pick up. Now let's talk about what can actually make his Musou even deadlier. And that is, of course, going to be from his skin, which gives Zhang Liao an unfathomable bonus of true damage and healing based off the attack of the Musou. And the Musou is already dealing an insane amount of attack. I didn't even go over this, but right here, the Musou deals just base damage 980% attack damage, and we're adding on 250-ish% to that with his combat soul. 226, 225 then? We'll say 225. So we're adding 225% attack to 980%, and it starts to get, the numbers start to get a little crazy when you add in his attack buffs and his, when your build, your weapon build, it starts to get really crazy really fast. And with his skin, he's now getting true damage, which means that he's negating all of your defenses for 2%, well, at max, for 7% of his attack, and recovers HP equal to 7% of his attack, which I can't even really put into words how crazy that is for Zhang Liao. And then we go over to his mount, which gives him EX attack deals 90% more damage to frozen and slowed enemies, lasting 10 seconds. Now we're getting into the realm of the absurd. Now, on top of the 60% attack bonus that he has from attacking slowed or frozen enemies, now you're adding 90% to that for a grand total of 150% bonus damage dealt to frozen enemies. Yeah, he goes insano mode on frozen enemies. If he catches you scared of him, or he knows you're scared, he's relentless. He's a monster. And then he has, on top of that, some of the best crowd control, if not the best crowd control in the game. Now let's go over some of his skills, and then we'll go over the build options. I hope I can do these cleanly. Sometimes things don't work out exactly as I want them to. Let's go over a basic skill combo, which is going to be C2, step forward into C3. Now, the reason you want to step forward with C3 is because sometimes they can be out of your range. Not always, but it's better insurance for him to step forward into C3 so that you just guarantee that you reset the opponent where you want them to be. And then, of course, you have his, let's talk about his infinite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I guess I had already did 5 attacks. Let's put Lubu on fight mode, and we're just gonna see if we can infinite 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, we're not freezing him a lot because in this game and in most games, crowd control has diminishing returns, where if you keep doing the same crowd control, the enemy gains more resistance to that crowd control over time, and that applies in this game as well. So as you're infiniting your enemy, your chances to freeze actually go down the more you attack them. Now let's talk about one of his absolute best combos in the game, and one of the most fun to pull off. We're going to go C2 and X and super simple and a true combo. Super simple combo to pull off and true. Then if I can get Lubu to relax for just a moment, I want to see if I can pull off what I believe is the most beautiful combo in the game, but some things have to go right for me in order to pull it off. So let's see. Whoop. We're gonna go C2. I probably shouldn't have done that. I think I did that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. That's basically the gist. You want to freeze them before the final attack of C6, and if they're frozen before the final attack of C6, Zhang Liao gets them in knockback. I want to try to perform this again, but maybe a bit more gracefully. Okay, let's try it one more time. This time we're going to go, well, this time we're just going to keep getting hit by Lubu, who is having a temper tantrum. We're going to go C2, into C3, stun delay, into EX. There we go. That was perfect. Now, you're not always going to pull this off. This is more of a situational combo based on what your enemy is doing. So, it's just something to keep in mind. Basically, what you want to do is you want to cancel the first attack at C5 during the knockback into Musou. Now, another combo I want to go over is one me and a friend of mine discovered recently, his name is Hulk, is a combo in which Zhang Liao can turn his neutral into instant true combo territory. Let's see if I can set this up perfectly. So what we're doing there, because he has so much range on his dash attack and so much knock up on the dash attack, he can actually combo his dash attack just as he would a C2 into Musou. And the cool thing about his dash attack is it has less chance to freeze than his other attacks. So you're almost always going to get the knockup. So I'm going to try it again. Now, rarely the EX startup will freeze the enemy in the air, but that's not that big a deal. And then, of course, his best occult is Ripper, where you can just go C3, knock up 1, and then Musou from there. Another thing I want to talk about before we get into the build section of Zhang Liao is one of his best kind of techs in the game, which is of course the, well, that's not it. I always forget to change this. Is the C1 cancel. You can cancel C1. C1 starts, okay, C1 starts with 2 attacks. You can either cancel C1 early and get no attack off with it. You can cancel C1 after first hit if he lets me. He's not letting me. There we go. We're going to cancel C1 off first hit and kind of try to go into a C3 situation. Jesus, that is so annoying. Reset him. And he still hits me. The range on that is crazy. Try this again. We're going to cancel C1 into C3 into EX. Well, not that that was true or anything, but I'm just kind of giving you some situations in which you can use C1 cancel. The second hit of C1 has knockback, so it's best used as a zoning tool for R2s. And of course you can cancel C1 into... he takes fighting Zhang Liao through. You can cancel C1 into Musou for a great mix-up. This is especially important in fights that are very hectic, where you're both kind of inside melee range. So, say they get up, you can take them off guard with C1 on get up, and go straight into Musou. Let's see if I can display that real quick. And we're just going to use that to transition directly into Musou. That's his best mix-up. And then, of course, you have other things you can do. Because one of Zhang Liao's greatest weaknesses in his attacks is actually the freeze. Because during freeze, your enemies, and I can't get the computer to replicate this really, your enemies can block during freeze. So if they hold block while frozen, they can actually block the Musou entirely once they get out of freeze. So what you want to do with Zhang Liao is, once they're frozen, take their back and set Musou up that way. See if we can do this again. Okay, he's frozen, and then we're going to take his back and set up Musou that way. Okay, so that basically covers all of his combo game. We'll end the video as we always do with talking about build options. Let's get out of here. Alright, so going into his build options, we have a few things that we can do. Let's start with East Wind. The important thing about East Wind, not just that it reduces the cooldown of EX by 4 seconds. Zhang Liao's EX lasts 8 seconds. So, because of that, the normal cooldown for an EX attack is like 24 seconds. We're reducing that by 4 seconds. His EX attack lasts 8 seconds. So, you're effectively only having to wait 10 seconds. That my math is right. Well, you're only having to wait 10 seconds for his EX attack to come off cooldown. This isn't unique to him, but he's one of the only people in the game that have EX attacks that last for longer periods of time, such as Zhu Huang and Guan Yu, to name a couple others that enjoy attack boosts that last for longer periods of time. It's especially important on Zhang Liao because he's dealing 150% attack damage to frozen enemies. So his EX attack coming off cooldown faster than basically 95% of the cast in the game makes this a number one option to put on your Zhang Liao. And then of course we have Ultimate Musou, which on top of the already egregious attack numbers we talked about earlier, we're getting into the realm of the absurd with constantly powering up his Musou. If my math's correct, it's well over 2,000% now. You know, I'm just going to throw a shot in the dark and say his Musou is over 2,000%, and then we're just going to add more damage to it. So the cool thing about that is, like I was talking about earlier, when a character is good at something and you add more to it, sometimes you get diminishing returns. But in this case, when your character has one of the absolute best Musou nukes in the game, adding more power to it just creates more one-shot potential for any matchup that he can come across. And then of course we have the Signet Icebreaker, which gives him increased attack damage to frozen enemies, which again synergizes with his already 150% attack bonus to frozen enemies. And his attack numbers are already through the roof. And then defensively, we have Salvation, which gives you a revive. If I can remember the name of the other one, there's one where if you're at a certain threshold of health, you actually freeze your enemies for like 2 seconds, which can open up combo opportunities and one-shot kill opportunities with Musou if your enemy isn't careful. And then besides that, he doesn't have great base defenses. He's more of an offensive juggernaut. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers all of his build options. And with that, I want to thank you for watching this video. This is my favorite character in the game and a true super meta in the game that everyone should take the opportunity to build. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, his combos, his passives, ways to improve your Zhang Liao gameplay, I can always help you with that in the comments. Just ask. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.